Alright, we are here with my Dash 8-200, and this is going to be kind of a part 2 of just the progress. Last one that I did, it was all in green, and there's been a lot of progress since. There's been some paint, there's been a lot of systems integrated. Latest addition is working landing gear doors, so our gear can actually retract now and lower, which is cool. I don't know if we had this last time. I think we did. I've been sharing all my photos on my Discord, so if you're not in that, make sure to join that to get some cool updates and all of that. But we've got a little bit more of a baggage compartment back here. This door does not work still. We do have lights. We also have the magnets. So that's going to be pretty simple. No specified cargo or anything like that. I'm not making any of this work with a standard. It's just for whatever. So we can go ahead and close that up. A little bit more decoration and covering up things along the wings. The rudder is all covered up. The elevators are all covered up. We've got a lot of good stuff covered up. I still need to XML some nav lights for the corners there. And I am currently working on spoilers as well. That's that little bit of lighter red right there in the middle. Those are my spoilers, which I do not have hooked up. A little bit more details along here with the exit door and all that. It doesn't actually work. I think it turned out pretty good, a lot of the detailing. I need to put a few more things, like I need some other doors that I can open up if it's really bad conditions out and I don't want the engine taking in air from the front. I still don't have a button for the door up front, but we can go ahead and no clip in, and I do actually have a button in here. And there we go, we have some nice little lights. We do actually have a little cargo place here for pins and stuff, which it actually does have. So I have spent an incredibly long time making this thing as realistic as I can possibly get, and fitting every single little detail I possibly can and everything that I can find. I've gone through every single video, I've gone through tons and tons of PDFs of instructions, manuals, how this thing was built and everything. So I've done quite a bit of research to figure all this out, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool plane whenever it's all done. So we can go ahead and close out. We do actually have our little jump seat. Again, I don't remember where it was the last time, and I'm not rewatching my own video to figure it out. We've got the start of a little galley. I still need to XML a little other cabinet there, which I don't have, and more detailing along here. But we've got like a little coffee maker thing and some general cabinets and all of that. We got a little exit sign, that was there last time. A little bit more work, just some ceiling details and all of that. I think there's been a little bit more work done to the interior since. We've got, yeah, I think it's pretty realistic. It's pretty close. It's about as close as I think I can really get without going over the top, because again, I do like using the least amount of XML I can. Just keep that Stormworks look, and I think it's done a pretty good job of keeping the Stormworks look and making it look pretty realistic as well. Don't know what that dial is. Oh, that might be for the door. Yep, that's for the door. This door does work, but I don't have it on a button right now. And again, that's kind of just a secondary door that we don't really use. This is the main exit here. We can go ahead and hop on in here. We do have our landing gear maintenance hatch thing here, so we can do alternate gear and all of that. I think I went over that last time. We do actually have alternate door button now, so we can actually press 1 and all of my doors will open. So you can go and have a look inside of all the bays and everything. We'll go ahead and close that. So that's going to be a button back here. Wait, oh, can I get up? There we go. So that is going to be alternate door open. And then there's actual alternate gear. And that button is also up here. So this is alternate gear release handle. So that will open up those doors and lower the gear, no matter what. Now we do have some more systems in here. Jack is doing an amazing job of doing all the displays and stuff, so I'm really happy with how those are turning out. They're pretty complicated. It's going to have two FMSs, which basically are for the autopilot system, so you have to input all of your coordinates and it'll actually make a little path for you and all that. But it's quite complicated. So I've got the little keypads hidden away down here. I've gone to get it like the most compact I can possibly get it, which I think is going pretty well so far. Here's those buttons for the bypass doors. That just opens up those. I'll go through the throttles a little bit more. I don't think I really talked about it too much in the last one. I just kind of showed it. But we'll go through it a little bit more. We have two hydraulics. So we have standby hydraulics, and then we have main. The main obviously will not work until we get the engines up and running. And then the standby will always work. That's on a little electric motor. And that will give us enough hydraulic pressure to power some of our systems, but it will not power all of them. So that only goes up to like 2,500 psi, I think. This one goes up to, I think, 3,100. So that one will power everything, and that little one will only do things like landing gear and rudder. Rudder is actually the only thing that uses hydraulic pressure, rudder and the spoilers, and I think flaps. Everything else is cables. So that is good and handy. We don't have all of our autopilot systems working, but we do have this. So this is how the autopilot system is going to work for our altitude, heading, and I think that's it. Oh, and IIS. So that, basically, instead of having it hold our speed with the throttle, basically what that will do is that will hold our speed by pitching the nose either up or down to make us slow down or gain a little bit of speed, and you still have to manage the throttle to get yourself close enough, and then you input the number. So the way this works is we'll just do it with a altitude. We'll go ahead and choose an altitude. We'll do 240, and then you do set altitude, and then you are in altitude, and that will set you there. If we want to change this now, we have 2 is IAS. We can switch that to 2, and then that changes here. And we can change that number all we want. That only goes to 140 because our max speed is about 140. But we can go ahead and flip back, and it has our set altitude there. We can also do current altitude hold where we need that off. We can only have one altitude hold on at a time, and that will just hold our current altitude. So let's talk about starting this up. We basically just need fuel feeds, so we can see that we are getting fuel flow. Our oil pressures and everything. We got inlet turbine temperature for left and right propeller speeds, torques. That's in a percentage out of 100. We typically only get to like 70, I believe. RPM and all of that fun stuff. We do actually have a few warnings hooked up. So we've got WT on wheels, so that is weight on wheels. That means we're actually touched down. We've got low hydraulic pressure, and we've got a parking brake on. We do have some lights. We've got landing lights up there. I don't actually have spotlights connected to it, so those are just kind of there right now as really dim lights. We got a dome light, and we have backlights, and that's about it. I started working on some of our electrical system, which will be pretty cool. So let's do this. So just starting it up regularly, we want to be in ECU mode 1, which is beta. Beta is basically just for taxiing and ground operations, so that will change these throttles from changing basically the throttle of the engine to only using the propeller pitch. So whenever I go up and down arrows or press either of those arrows, that will only adjust the propeller pitch. And your condition levers are in charge of your idle. So if we actually change it to 3, which is idle RPS, we'll have a little bit of a higher idle, and that is faster for taxiing on the ground. If we're in ground idle, or not ground idle, if we're just in idle, which is 2, we will be the slowest, and flight idle, and 5 is full. So flight idle will not give us a faster taxi speed, that is ground idle, and 5 is full. So 5 will just put us basically to full throttle right away. But that only does it if we are in auto or manual. That's basically our toga, so that will set us to the highest level of throttle we can possibly get to right away. So that's used for taking off and basically aborting landings and all of that fun stuff. So we want to start up in 1, which is beta. We want to flip these over off cutoff to 2, which is idle. So actually starting this thing, we want to go and probably start up 2. That's what we generally do because we have passengers coming in on the left, and we want to get some hydraulics and stuff going. While we're taking off and everything, we want to get standby hydraulics on as a backup because we're obviously going to have a lot of stuff happening. And if hydraulics fail, we want to have a backup right away. We can take that right off once we're flying though. And we can go ahead and do start. We can go and take a look at our numbers here. They are oscillating a little bit. And then we just let go after a while, and it will drop a little bit, and then if it catches itself, it's back on. So it's on, now we'll flip over to 1. And there we go. So we'll let go now. And it looks like we're on. So I'm going to go ahead and get my master up a little bit more. These engines are not completely in sync right now. I'm not quite sure, but I think it's the left one. No, it's the right one is faster, I think. Yeah, the right one's faster than the left one, not by much, but by enough that I have to add like 0.01 trim into the rudder to counter it. I'm not quite sure why. So we're in idle, So that's pretty slow. We can also do flaps here. We can check it over there. Those all work fine. We'll just do half. We'll do about half. It's easy enough to gauge just by looking at it there with the bars. None of that works. Prop, feather, all of that. We don't have propeller synchronizers yet or any of that. We do have stick pusher. So stick pusher, if we're getting to a stall and we don't have enough speed and we're pitched too high up, it will automatically push us down, push the pitch down. So you can turn that on or off depending on what you're wanting to do. There's our hydraulic pressure that is up. We're at 2900, which is enough, and that one is at about 2423, which is fine. So we'll leave all of that. Now we're in 2, which is normal idle, so we want to get up to ground idle, which you can hear the engines revving up a little bit more. We can see that. So we'll go ahead and take off the parking brake. Now we do have all of our radios and stuff back here, as well as our trims, which will be automatically added. So that is all good. Now we want to stay in beta, and we want to start adding throttle, which is up and down. There we go. We also have propeller ground range, which is basically just what your pitch is at right now for your propellers, which is quite useful to see. Now these different modes, I think I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but 1 is, as I already said, just propeller pitch. 2 is auto, so it'll automatically adjust your propeller pitch to get the best performance you can, which is typically around 100% almost all the time. And 2 is manual. So manual, whenever you go up and down on your throttle, it will change both your prop pitch and your engine throttle at the same time. So instead of having the computer basically take over your prop pitch and you just control the throttle, you're going to be controlling both with one action, which can be nice and useful and sometimes a little bit annoying. You typically only use that, I believe, in emergencies. So we'll go ahead and flip on the brakes, which are just space. We can flip on the parking brake if we want to not do anything. We can keep those down. We can actually bring this into high. So as you can hear, the engine's just revved down quite a bit because we flipped it basically back into idle. So I think I'm going to change that so that all of those are basically equivalent to the ground idle, but I'm not quite sure yet. So we are in beta right now, so flipping that over won't do anything because I don't have any prop pitch because I pitched this down with my throttle. But as soon as we flip it into auto or manual, that is going to get raised right up and we're going to go flying away. So I can actually go ahead and take my parking brake off. We're not really going to move. I can hold spacebar if I really want, but it really doesn't matter. So we're ready to fly. So we want 240 feet. We got our altitude there. We've got all of our fun stuff. And I think we are pretty much good to go. So I've got us into full. Our throttles are at 0, and we are in beta. So we want to flip this over, make sure your parking brake's off, and we will fly away. And just like that, we are off. Now you want to make sure you don't hit that tail. I've done that quite a few times. It's quite easy to do. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and press altitude hold. That'll take us up to our altitude. We can go ahead and bring those flaps up. Sometimes they like to get a little bit stuck, but I've not had too many issues with them. There they go. And we can go ahead and get that gear up as well. All those doors are closing up behind it. And we just reached our altitude too. There we go, 238, we're just about there. So we are up in the air, so that's easy enough. Now we're in full speed, so I don't want to just sit there, so I'm going to bring these back down to flight idle, F idle, which is 4, because we don't need to be full power all the time. That is just unnecessary strain on all of our stuff. We're at 64%, 65%, a little bit over on that one. So again, not quite sure what that's doing, but it's not the end of the world. I'll fix it before it gets released. We'll go ahead and tap the brakes just a little bit so that they stop spinning. And we can go ahead and roll on over. Now I don't have any clamps or anything on the roll or anything, so you can completely roll over, but you're going to stall. This thing can stall quite quickly actually, and you can get into quite a little bit of trouble, especially if you roll over too quickly. You lose quite a bit of speed, which I like. It makes you kind of actually look for the stuff and know how to fly it. I don't mind people having to get a little bit good with the thing before you can just go and do whatever, like an actual plane. But I think it turns quite well. This is just using the roll. I don't use any rudder or anything like that. So it's pretty good with that. And I did get the rudder to work pretty well. it actually does have two control surfaces on it, which both roll and kind of form more of a rounded shape instead of just a singular rudder, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit of a pain to do. I've got a piston in there, as you can see there. You can't see it on the other side because I have a block in the way, so you can see through it because it's XML. But there is quite a lot of pivots and stuff on all the control surfaces, and all the control surfaces actually work too. You can see them all doing their stuff except for the spoilers right now. But yeah, so I've spent a lot of time trying to get this thing as realistic as you can possibly get it. So we'll go ahead and actually roll on over, and that's a pretty good bank right there for this plane where you don't lose a ton of speed and then die, because you can roll over too much and get in a pretty bad situation pretty quick. I got to XML that pivot back there as well. And we will actually go ahead and come in for a landing and see how well that goes. So we're still a bit far out. I don't know which way I want to come in. I think we're going to come over the mainland again. I think we have enough room to do that. And then I'm going to also add in making the flaps actually work a little bit more, because they really don't do a ton right now. They did whenever I used actual control surfaces, but they just caused too many issues, which I just did not feel like figuring out, because honestly there's not a ton of room in these wings. And yeah, it's just a little bit unnecessary. So if I can fit some small fins in there or something, and just kind of mimic it, I'll probably find some way to do it. So we'll go ahead and get the gear down. You can see the gear come down. The right gear sometimes gets a little bit stuck. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, so we're gonna die there, so that's not good. Yeah, so I gotta figure out that right gear getting stuck. I'm not quite sure what it is. I think I use these fish finders for wheels, and I think it's just getting caught somewhere. I don't quite know where though. That should be out of the way completely. So I have to figure that out, but it's gotten consistently stuck there, and it's only on the left one, which is quite weird. I think the tubing's on this, yeah, the tubing's on it's exactly symmetrical, so I'm not quite sure about that, but I just did a short of landing it. I think I did a pretty good job of it too. But yeah, so we'll end it there. Some good progress on the plane. I'll make sure to do another one of these whenever it gets a little bit closer. But I'm pretty excited for it. I think it's coming together pretty good. A lot of work to go still. I'd say it's probably about 70% done. But as you all know, the last 10% takes the longest, so I can't wait till we get there. But yeah, so we'll end it there. Thanks for watching if you made it all the way to the end of this. And let me know what you think in the comments.